Right, so in today's video, I'm going to show you how to disassemble the PineBuds Pro. Now, don't worry, these are already broken, so no harm will occur from me disassembling them. And that's important because it is pretty easy to thrash these things if you don't know what you're doing. Now, in order to perform this disassembly, you will need a pry tool of some sort, for instance, a flat card or a pry tool like you receive in phone repair kits. I'm going to be using a flathead screwdriver, which I would highly advise against because you can cause a lot of damage that way. But unfortunately, that's all I have to hand. As I said, these are already broken, so it doesn't really matter too much. You will also need a Phillips head screwdriver. Programming gloves are optional, but preferred. So now I'm going to show you how to crack into these things. First, take out the buds themselves, of course. And what you kind of have to do is work your way around the case and basically pop the lower part of the case from the top part. Now, the wiki says that the clips keeping this in place are at the front. I don't know that that's necessarily true because in order to get these open, I needed to undo some clips at the back here and here, as well as at the center here. So just watch that because that is part of the reason why this case is so beat up, because the wiki didn't adequately describe where all the clips are. Or at least I don't think it did. So what you need to do is get your pry tool and kind of stick it into the edge and sort of pry up. And there we go, we managed to get it in one. Now, that doesn't guarantee that it'll be as easy for you. And in fact, if it's your first time opening up your PineBuds, it probably won't be that easy. It can be quite fiddly the first time, but the more you do it, the easier it becomes. But once you've got all the clips removed, you just simply lift up, and then you have access to the PCB, battery, and some magnets in the case. So when you first open up your PineBuds, the battery will be taped down. So just go ahead and lift up the tape and you can lift up the battery. Then you'll see this little magnet here. It's held in place with some pretty strong putty, so it will take quite a lot of effort to remove, but it is necessary to get to the actual PCB. As you can see, I've already removed mine a fair few times, so it just lifts right out. And then you can see that there are 3 Phillips head screws on the actual PCB. We're going to need to remove those. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to my Phillips head screwdriver. Let's get these things out. Now, of course, these are tiny little screws, so make sure that you put them somewhere safe where you won't lose them. And after you've done that, the PCB should just lift right out. And as you can see, now you have access to all the pogo pins, the battery if you want to replace that, and yeah, you've pretty much got everything there. And as you can see in the case, there's a few magnets and stuff, which is how the PineBuds work. Pretty cool, right? Now, before we go ahead and put everything back together again, I do want to give an unrelated warning. The early models of the PineBuds Pro have an issue whereby if they're dropped, the battery can be punctured. Now, this is fixed in later revisions, but if you have an early revision pair of PineBuds Pro, be careful, and if you notice anything funny about the battery after dropping it, might be wise to replace it, because obviously a punctured battery is quite a big hazard. So now let's go ahead and put all this back together again. Kind of works the way you think it would. You just go ahead and put the PCB back in, make sure you get it in the right way. Next, you've got to go ahead and replace the screws. The next step is to go ahead and put the magnet back in place. Now, if you can, preserve the original putty so it'll be stuck in place. There we go, we can jam it in as best as we can. Next, go ahead and tape the battery back down. I'm not going to be taping it for the purposes of this disassembly video, but if you intend to use your buds again, you probably should. Next, get the lower half of the case and make sure that it's the right way round and just kind of pop it all back together again. Especially take care that the USB-C port is in properly, because after I dropped these things it was knocked out of place, so I imagine that that could be a difficulty you have while reassembling as well. Make sure everything is back together again as it should be, and as you can see in our case it is. So now we can go ahead and put our buds back into place and see if it worked. As you can see, the left one is charging, the right one is actually broken, but as you can see, our teardown and reassembly was a complete success. So now you know how to go ahead and disassemble and reassemble the PineBuds Pro.